Think of an area where you don't feel confidence rich right now. And imagine having that feeling of, my word is law. If I say I will do it, it will happen. I will find a way. I will move heaven and earth to make it happen. Woo, that's confidence.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm Makena Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, beautiful people. I am so happy to be back, not just back to another podcast episode, but back home. We just wrapped up our 7-day, 8-night retreat in Sonoma, California, in wine country. And we had 18 women there from all over the world, Asia, Europe, Jamaica, the US. And it was an incredible week. Truly, I think our best group ever. And we have had some incredible groups. My mom's been leading retreats for 38 years, and I've been leading them with her for about 10 years. So to say it's our best group ever is pretty cool. We had an amazing time. The women bonded so much, and just so much laughter, transformation, tears, growth, clarity, and fun. We had a lot of fun too. So coming off of the heels of that, we were talking about, what do we want to share with you? What's really present? What's really fresh for us right now? And so we were actually going through some of the surveys of the women sharing about their experiences and what's changed for them. And a theme that comes up over and over again when people work with us is confidence. So whether it's a retreat or an online coaching program or private coaching, whatever it might be, again and again, we hear women say, I'm so much more confident. And that's an important topic because we also talk to a lot of people who struggle with confidence, or maybe you're confident in some areas, like you're really confident in some areas, but then when it comes to your visions and dreams, or really stretching outside of your comfort zone, or something that's really close to your heart and soul, maybe it's even finding a relationship, then there might be areas where you feel a lack of confidence. And so I wanted to record an episode about this because, just because I think every woman should, and every person, not just woman, but should have the tools to be able to feel confident in the areas that are most important to you. So that's really what this episode is about. So I was one of those people that I was pretty confident throughout a lot of my life, pretty confident in certain areas, but then there were areas in which I was quite insecure. My sister, Mariah, when I was in my teens, used to call me one of the most confident, insecure people she knew. And in that, there was truth in that, because there were areas in which I was a high achiever. I was, studied and worked hard and was always good in school. So there were parts of my life that I had a lot of strength and confidence in, but then there were other areas where I just felt totally uncertain or unsure of myself. But now, if I really reflect back, I have a lot of confidence in a lot of areas. And it's not that I don't have anywhere I feel insecure, or anywhere where I don't know if I have so much insecurity anymore. I would say there are still areas and there are still days when I feel less confident. But in general, I've built this muscle of confidence so much more. And I really have it in so many areas of my life. And I don't feel that same sense that I used to of Like if I was going to stretch outside of my comfort zone or do something that was scary to me, that like, oh, like kind of paralyzed feeling, or I don't know if I can do that, or I don't know if I have what it takes. I know how to walk myself through that. And so that's really what I want to talk about. And how do we help our clients to do that as well? So I was reflecting on, well, what changed? Like what really made the difference for me? And of course, some of this is life experience, right? The more life experience we have, hopefully, the more confident we become. Sometimes it can go the other direction, depending on how things go. But really, as I have, developed skills in my life and my business, a lot of confidence has come through that and through and not just in business, in other areas, as I've had a relationship for many years now, almost 9 years, and have a lot of peace and harmony and fulfillment in that relationship. So areas in which I've really practiced and applied myself, of course, I have more confidence there. So some of it is a matter of practice and experience and time. But we still see a lot of women who are go-getters, high achievers, maybe doing very well in their careers, who are still struggling with confidence, as mentioned, in other areas. And so it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that. And I reflected, like, what changed for me? So a big thing, you guys know my story if you've listened to our podcast for a while. If you're listening for the first time, then just to say that I made a big career pivot about 7 years ago when I stepped out of a successful business that I ran in marketing and into coaching. And that was a pivotal turning point in my life. And in that shift, it was really the biggest thing I'd ever done to put myself out of my comfort zone. And I was terrified because not only was I taking a big risk and changing really everything about my career and walking away from something very successful to follow a hope and a dream, but I had also tried and failed to make a similar transition about a year prior. So I had tried to step into coaching, start this new business, and it completely flopped. And so I really had taken a hit to my confidence. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have what it takes. Maybe it's just not what I meant to do. And so I was in this place of fear, a lot of fear. But for those of you who know my story, I was also in a place of, I can't not make a change. I have to do something. My soul, my body, everything was telling me it was time. So when I made that big leap, or I usually call it more of a transition because it took time and there were steps and it didn't just happen overnight like a leap. So when I made that leap, or that transition, I really was not confident at first. And I think that's a big misconception about confidence, is that we're supposed to feel confident and then go out and do the thing. Have you ever felt that way? Like, I need to work on my self-confidence. I need to stop feeling so much self-doubt, and then I will go out and do this. And most of the time, that's not how it works. In fact, I would say 80% of the time, it's not how it works. There is value in doing some examination of like, okay, if you have feelings of self-doubt or low self-worth, or if there's old stories or old stuff that's inside of you that needs to be kind of looked at and examined and questioned, there's value to doing that. And we have an episode around self-doubt. I don't know the exact episode number, but I believe it's called the Self-Doubt Switch, and we'll link to it in the show notes and also in the transcript here. And you can go back and find that one if you're interested in listening to it. So we really go deeply into self-doubt in that episode. So there's room for digging in, seeing what's there, and excavating and shifting some stories. But that's only probably 20% of the equation. The other 80% is just going for it. Getting clear on what you want, taking steps in that direction, maybe falling down a few times, picking yourself back up again, and going for it again. And that is difficult to do. It's very difficult to do, especially in the things that are closest to our heart and soul. So in that, I really define a confident woman or a confident person as someone who really knows what they want, is fully committed to go for it, and goes after it, even when they feel fear, even when they feel self-doubt. Because that's the truth about confidence, is that yes, that gets less over time, the fear and the self-doubt, if you're in action, but it doesn't fully go away for most people. I still have days when I feel tons of fear and tons of self-doubt, especially in something that's pushing me out of my comfort zone. So now I have a certain level of confidence in coaching and in running a coaching business. I stand in my value. I stand in my power there. I know the kinds of results that we create for our clients without a doubt. I see it every single day. I get to watch their lives, their businesses, their confidence, their relationships, all of these areas transform. But in other areas, like I'll use a recent example. We're writing a book right now called The Way of the Muse. And I wrote the first draft of that book back in January, and it is now September 25th. And I didn't touch it for 6 months after I wrote the first draft. And I had all the excuses and all the reasons why I didn't, right? I was busy. We were working on other projects. Other things were a priority. And that was true. But there was also a truth that it's uncomfortable to stretch myself in this way, to put something out there that is so close to my heart and soul, that is the story of my mentorship with Gigi, my mom and business partner, and, told through the lens of this woman who finds a journal in a bookstore, and it's a magical journal that writes back to her. And the journal teaches her things about life and business and following the whispers of your soul to something more, and how to step into a life that's really the life you're meant to live, that's aligned for you. So this book has been on my heart and soul to write for some time, and it flowed out of me in like one sitting, basically in a couple of weeks. But then it was like, oh my gosh, I put it aside and fear came in, and self-doubt, or I don't know, is this any good? I don't really want to look at it again and edit it. And so all of this came up, and I spent 6 months not touching it. And then I started getting in and editing it, and it was difficult. And I still felt a lot of those feelings like, is this good? Can I edit it to where I want it to be? Are people going to get it? Is it going to resonate? And so it's been this struggle, this challenge for me around not only just prioritizing it and the time and everything that it takes, but also this is something that is close to my heart and soul. And it's my first book. And I'm sure when I write my second, third, fourth books, it will probably get easier. I'll feel a little more confident, hopefully. But right now, it's stretching me, and I'm aware of that. So in that, when it's something that is outside of your comfort zone, it's going to bring up more feelings of fear, of doubt, of whatever it might be. But I know better than to let that take me out of the game for too long. And that's the main thing, is you have to see. And something that, Gigi really reflected to me in the last week was that I haven't been fully committed to that project. I've been committed at times, and I've been going for it at times, but I've been a little bit 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And this is a really key piece of confidence, you guys. When I reflect on where I've developed the most confidence the fastest over time, it's been in areas where I said, I am all in. I'm fully committed. I'm absolutely going to make this happen no matter what. That kind of all-in commitment, when I coach people in their businesses, or when Gigi coaches people in their businesses or their careers or their really anything in their lives, but when people come to us and they say, I want to grow in this way, like a year from now, I want to, double my business, or get a new job that I love, or, find that relationship that is the relationship I've been searching for, or turn my health around, or whatever it might be. I want to write that book. I want to change the world in this way. when they tell us this, the most important factor in whether if they're going to come into one of our programs that is more high touch, like our mastermind, Wealthy World Changers, or private coaching, they're going to come into something where we're really going to work with them in a deep, intimate way like that to move that forward, as opposed to like maybe a more entry-level group program or something like that, or a self-study program. One of the most important criteria for us in them coming in is that they be fully committed. Fully committed. Because if they're not fully committed, like if it's writing a book, right? If someone comes to us and says, I want to write a book, I've been putting it off, I don't know, right? Then we have to see, are you fully committed to go for this now? And if you're not, what's getting in the way? And can we help you move through that? And if we can't, then we're not the right people to support you, right? Or if they say, I want to double my business, are you fully committed? Are you willing to go all in meaning like your full intent and energy? Doesn't mean you can't have to quit your day job if you have a day job. Doesn't mean all in like nothing else matters in your life. It means all in like this is absolutely, you are so clear, you are willing to do what it takes to make this happen. Because if someone isn't all in that way, then we know we can try to support them, but it's probably not, they're not going to get to where they want to go, not in the time frame that they're looking at. So this is huge. And if I look at this book project, to be completely transparent, I haven't been all in. It's been like, I want to do it. I'm excited about it. I would love to do it. And I've been maybe 70% in, right? Like I'm doing it. I'm moving it forward. We're going to keep going, but I haven't really fully committed myself until now. So I'm outing myself here for all of you to see that there's areas in which I still struggle with this. And so that's something I've really been sitting with this week, ever since it was my mentor, Gigi, shone a light on it for me last week. And it's been hard to look at. It's been hard to admit to myself that like, I've been doing that, right? I haven't been all in. And then to really work through that in myself and go, can I get to the point where I'm all in, where I'm a 10 out of 10? I know that I can because I've done it before, and I know that I want to do this and I want to do it now. So I'll be there. Give me a few days. I'll be there. But I could also decide that I'm not all in right now. That's also an option, right? I could say, well, I'm actually not ready, or for whatever reason, I'm not committed. So then I may as well just set it aside and not be half in, half out. Because the truth is my confidence has been taking a hit around this book. But it hasn't been taking a hit around the book because the book is bad necessarily. I hope it's not, right? But it hasn't been because I don't know, I can't write a book or whatever it is. It's been taking a hit because I've been telling myself I've been going for it, when the truth is I haven't fully been going for it. And so over time, as time continues on, I lose confidence. I lose confidence in myself and in my word and in my ability to take something I want to do and see it through. That's what one of the women shared in the retreat last week. She said she's one of the women that we've helped, I think, double her business in the last couple of years. And she's working half the time and so much happier, so much more confident. She called in the relationship of her dreams. So much has changed in her life. And she said it's such an amazing thing to know that when I set my mind to something and I commit to it, I will make it happen. That rings a bell. So imagine that feeling. Like when I set my mind to it and I commit, I will find a way to make it happen. If you had that kind of confidence in yourself, how would that feel in these areas in which you maybe don't feel as confident right now? Whether that's, again, in your career or business or finding a relationship or your health. Think of an area where you don't feel confidence rich right now. And imagine having that feeling of, my word is law. If I say I will do it, it will happen. I will find a way. I will move heaven and earth to make it happen. Ooh, that's confidence. So in that, you want to really be honest with yourself in the area in which you don't feel confidence rich. How committed are you? How committed have you been? If you had to give it a number on a scale of 1 to 10, are you at a 6 or 7? Or are you at a 10? If you're at a 10, I don't think any of you are probably at a 10 in that area, to be totally honest. Because if you were, you would be creating more results there and you would be feeling more confident. Maybe not right away, but pretty quickly, you would start to have more confidence there. So most of you are somewhere lower than a 10. And even if you're at an 8 or a 9, it doesn't matter. There's still that 10, 20% that you're not fully all in and fully going for it. So that's a really important piece of confidence. There's another big project that I am working on that I'm not sharing publicly yet. And I'm sitting with that one right now too. Okay, am I willing to go all in? Am I willing to do what it takes? Because if I'm not, then it's probably not the time for me to do it right now. And I'm unsure. I'm unclear about the answer to that. I hope it's a yes in one way, because I would love to see that project come to fruition and reality. But I also know that it would be painful for me to halfway go for it, for me to say, oh, I'd love to do this, but not give my all. Because if I don't, then I'm going to be so disappointed if it doesn't happen. But that's on me, right? For not being fully committed. So I'm really sitting with at this stage in my life. And, we're trying to get pregnant right now. There's a whole new stage coming in terms of family and kids. Am I willing to, in addition to my business I run and this book, to take on this other project that feels so exciting to me and like something that is really on my heart and soul to do? But is it the time? Is it the time, and am I willing to go all in? So I know I'm spending a lot of time on this topic of commitment and all in, and it may not be what you expected when you started listening to an episode about confidence, but I'm telling you, it is a huge part of the equation. If we have a conversation with someone that wants to coach with us and they can't get themselves to a 10 out of 10 committed, that they're all in on their dream, whether or not they work with us, then we usually advise that they do not work with us. And we've truly had people that we've said, it's probably not the time or not the best fit. And sometimes they come back later when they are committed and they are ready. But the reason is, it doesn't matter how much coaching you sign up for, how supportive your loved ones are. It doesn't matter if you're not really ready to go for it now. Really ready to go for it now. So ask yourself, in the area in which you feel less confidence, if it's your body, your relationship status, your business, your career, your health, whatever it is, am I willing to go all in? Again, that doesn't mean not doing anything else. It just means committed, fully committed. Am I willing to 10 out of 10 do what it takes? And if the answer is yes, that's a relief. It's a relief because you now know, and then it's just a matter of how. And the how is actually not as hard as you might think once you're committed. Once you're committed, it's like, I will figure it out, man. I will figure it out myself, or I will go find someone who knows and I will hire them to help me, or I'll do whatever it takes. The commitment creates a certain kind of strength, if not confidence, at least strength, to go out and go for it. And then the confidence comes through, maybe it's through support of hiring somebody that knows what they're doing, or getting a team that supports you, or whatever that is. Maybe it comes through just trying things and failing at some of them, but seeing what works and what doesn't work, and learning and iterating and continuing. So in that, confidence will come through, first of all, knowing what you want. Secondly, committing that you're going to go for it all in. And then thirdly, taking action, going for it, getting support if you need it, being willing to try and fail and flop a few times if you have to. This is how confidence builds. It is not complicated, but it is not easy. You have to be willing to stretch yourself. That's the bottom line. Anyone who is very successful in any area will tell you it took work. It took work. It took commitment. It took consistency. It took going for it. It took failing sometimes. That is what it takes to be confident. Otherwise, we're just kidding ourselves. We're sitting around thinking some people are just born with it. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline, right? Maybe she's born with it. Confidence? No. Some people, of course, it's fostered in them in a different way. If they had a certain kind of upbringing or, they really had the opportunity to, a lot of times you see this with people who are great athletes, that because they built this muscle of pushing themselves outside of their comfort zone and of discipline and of, getting coaching and getting support and going for it, sometimes they can transfer that over into other areas of their life. Or someone was really good in school sometimes, or if someone's had a success in business or career, a lot of times there's a certain kind of confidence that builds that they know how to do it in one area so they can transfer it into another. So that's the other thing, is to look at where in life have you succeeded? Where have you felt confidence? Even if it was a long time ago, when have you felt the most confident and what were the elements there? What can you take away from that to bring into where you are now? The last thing with confidence I want to speak about is knowing yourself. So when I reflect on my journey over these last 6-7 years, since stepping full-time into coaching and really being mentored by my mom during that time and growing this business together, I really see that a huge part of my confidence came through knowing myself better. And what I mean by that is knowing all the parts of myself. So through my mentorship and through the questions Gigi would ask me and the ways she would reflect certain things to me, she has shown a light on my strengths and my gifts, which we've talked about in previous episodes, and also on my weaknesses and my blind spots. That is not always easy, you guys. That was literally the conversation last week. We had this conversation about the book and I was, I saw the truth in what she was saying. And it was hard. Like I said, I felt angry at myself. I felt all kinds of feelings that night. I stayed up late journaling and thinking about it. And all this emotion came up in me because it was hard to look at where I hadn't been fully honest with myself about not being all in on this, about, where I had a blind spot, basically. And I was like, why is this so hard? Why is it so hard to get this book done? And it wasn't until she shone a light on, hey, here's where you're not being fully authentic with yourself, that I went, oh my gosh, she's right. But that was hard to look at. But through that comes a certain kind of strength and a certain kind of confidence, because I'm now being honest with myself about where I've been, where I am now, and how I want to move forward. The same was true for the women in the retreat last week. So we went through a lot of different things, and this is part of what we do with our clients, is we do shine a light on both. We get in there and we look at, what are your gifts, right? What are your true gifts? What brings you alive? Who are you really? What are you meant to share in this world? Or what kind of life do you want to live? And we shine a light on what is unique and brilliant about you. And a lot of times when people first see that or start to hear that, they can't fully take it in because they feel whatever, like that's immodest, or they can't, for whatever reason, they're not confident in that area. So having a believer, having coaches, guides, mentors, and then a community often through our mastermind or whatever program, or just the women at the retreat last year, having all those women there that are on their team, like everybody felt like a total team because we set it up that way, that they are out to support each other to get what they want. And so imagine having 17 other women, 19 if you count me and Gigi, like cheering you on your team, believing in you, reflecting your gifts. There is nothing like that. It is an incredible experience. So in that, we are people's believers. We really help them see who they really are. It's not a compliment. It's not making something up. It's truly authentic. And that is also where a certain kind of confidence builds. Over the years, I've had reflected to me enough by Gigi and by our clients and by different people in my life, my gifts, my strengths, how I've changed their lives. And that has built confidence. But the other side is that I've also really had to look at where I had bad habits, or where I wasn't being honest with myself, or where I had blind spots, things about myself that were kind of shitty. And when those were reflected to me, it was often very difficult to look at. And so like with the women last week, we went through some of we called them the shadows, like shining a light on your shadow. What are those like not so great things we do sometimes in our relationships, for example, or in different parts of our lives? And we don't do them maliciously, right? But maybe they worked to get us something we wanted in the past. And so unconsciously we kept doing them. But they were also preventing us in another way from getting what we want. So we went through this whole segment of shining a light on your shadow to really see, to illuminate also the other side. And I will say that when I reflect on my journey with confidence, this has been a huge part of it, because now I'm sure I still have blind spots. Obviously, I just learned about one last week, right? But more and more and more, I know myself deeply. I know my shitty side. I know my great side. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I know that, and I can own all of that. And in owning it, I step into a different kind of power, an inner power, not a power over anybody, an inner power, an inner strength, where I can stand up in front of a room and I know who I am, and I know what I do for people. Or I can walk into a party of people I don't know and I know myself, right? People don't like this or that or whatever. I can really be honest. Oh yeah, that is a side of me, right? Or I can see, oh, that's probably more their projections, right? Because I've really looked, and that's not a piece that really comes up in me most of the time. So I can see myself so much more clearly. So in that, there is this really important piece of confidence, which is having a space to get really real and know all the parts of yourself and own them. So with different women last week, whether it was through that process or other places where we would reflect what we saw in them, and also the I wouldn't say weaknesses so much as like the growth edges, the areas for them to really step up and beyond maybe what's held them back in the past. As we shone a light on those areas, then women were able to come up and really go, okay, step into their power, know what they want, and be ready to go for it in a much bigger way. So just to share that however you do that, that's a really important piece of true confidence that comes from the inside. Knowing all the parts of yourself, coming to love them and change the ones that you maybe want to shift, but knowing what your tendencies are and owning it. So that is a huge piece. All right. Do I have anything else? I think that's really it. So just to kind of recap, confidence, being the woman who goes for it, or the person who goes for it, is about, again, knowing what you want. That's the first piece. You got to get clear on what it is, because otherwise you're sitting around unsure about why you don't feel totally fulfilled or totally confident. A lot of times you see this too, is like people don't feel confident because they're not playing a big enough game. And what I mean by that is they're caught up in their day-to-day, I wouldn't say drama, but interpersonal conflicts, things they're not happy with at their job or their business. Like all these things have caught up their attention, and they're feeling down and low and not so confident. So most of the time when we work with people, and we did an episode on this, I can't remember what it was called, but we'll link it in the show notes as well, which was about going for a bigger and better problem, basically, not solving the problem of the thing that's in your mind. Like, how do I don't know, my boss is being annoying at work. Like, what do I do about that? That's one kind of problem. But when we work with people, we go, what's a bigger and better problem, which is going for what you want, which is really seeing what the bigger vision is and going for it. So we'll link that here as well. So in that is so important, is knowing what you want and that it's really the game, so to speak, or the vision or the thing that is truly exciting for you, aligned for you, fits for you and what you want and where you want to go. Committing, going all in if you're going to do it or not, because if you're not going to do it, let yourself off the hook. Otherwise, you're just going to be hard on yourself and you're not going to feel confident. So if you're not going to go for it right now, like if I decided I wasn't going to do the book or wasn't going to do this other project right now, I would have to fully let that go and say, okay, it's just not the time. Doesn't mean I'm not capable. It doesn't mean it's not a great project. It doesn't mean it's even not something I want to do. It just means, why beat myself up about it, or why go in halfway? Why not wait until I'm really a hell yes? So commitment, number 2, being willing to go outside of your comfort zone, get into action, try and fail. If you have to, try and succeed in other areas, learn, iterate, get out there and get support if you need it. If you know you need a believer, if you need a sounding board, someone next to you, it's a myth, I believe, that we are supposed to do it alone. Whoever programmed that into us or told us that was the way it was going to be, that you're supposed to be able to figure this out on your own, it's baloney, right? We are interconnected people, and we are at our core, in terms of millennia ago, tribal people. So connection, community, that was how we survived and thrived as a species. And it still should be and is in many ways to this day. So you sitting there by yourself trying to figure it out, you may be able to get there, but you could probably get there a whole lot faster and with a lot more fun and ease with support, whatever that looks like for you. And really knowing yourself and owning all the parts of yourself, and then working on the ones you want to work on, but also owning, like, okay, this is where I have strengths. This is where I have weaknesses. This is where, I'm doing things that aren't really working for me and I want to shift that. So really knowing yourself. So those are the pieces I see in terms of confidence. And I would love to hear, after listening to this episode, what really resonated for you. You can write into us at support@wayofthemuse.com, support@wayofthemuse.com. Gigi and I are often reflecting, like, we have no idea who listens to this podcast unless somebody goes out of their way to tell us, right? We see ratings sometimes. We occasionally get an email. We definitely have people tell us they're listening and sharing with their friends, which we're so grateful for. But beyond that, like, we have no idea. So if you are listening to this or any of the episodes and something really like sparks an aha for you, or if you're really moved by something or you have a question, please write into us. We would love that. So we have more feedback, more idea too of what you're really loving, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, what questions you have, and we can continue to really customize this to what you're looking for. So thank you for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll have some really fun episodes coming up soon, so keep an eye out for those. We come out every Friday. And as always, please keep sharing. If you haven't rated the podcast yet, please do that. It really, really helps us. We're still a baby podcast, so every rating helps on whatever platform you listen on. And reviews help a lot. Sharing helps. Subscribing as well. So thank you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.